So you've played the Metal Gear Solid series, a masterful sequence of video games capturing the best of cinema and movies combined with great game mechanics that merges the best of interactivity. Something Metal Gear Solid back in 1998 revolutionised, but beyond that in 2006, Konami released Metal Gear Solid digital graphic novel on the PlayStation Portable. It was followed in 2008 by Metal Gear Solid 2 Bande Dessinée, adapting Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty in the same format. Kojima is credited as director of these releases, and both projects are built from the same official comic adaptations published by IDW Publishing, illustrated by Ashley Wood, and written by Chris Oprisco. Rather than recreating the games, Konami translated that material into an interactive format. No gameplay, and it's available as simply Metal Gear Solid told through seeing and listening rather than being a part of it.
Well, at least that's one thing you like about me, huh?
No, you've got a great ass, too.
You're a class snake. No wonder you're such a loner.
What remains is recognisable but no longer unfolds in the same way the games do. Some changes are both minute and drastic at the same time. These digital graphic novels only cover the first two mainline games, no others were created for the rest of the series, and with that said, let's examine the differences. The introduction of the DGN lacks the cinematic quality of the first game when arriving to Shadow Moses by submarine, but it does work for a comic rendition because its art style by Ashley Wood definitely works. Mission briefing is extended aside from Snake prepping for the mission, shows Campbell and a squad greeting Snake in his little house in Alaska to forcibly detain him to get him ready for his mission in Shadow Moses.
What do you want from me?
I just invited you here so we could have a talk. Don't move a muscle.
What the?
Sorry if they were a little rough with you. But we've got a serious situation here. Only you can get us out of it.
The sequences of events play out exactly like the game, but we get more of a background idea what happens before that. The mission briefing still happens where Snake still receives his shot from Naomi, but ultimately he embarks on his mission just as he does in the game. Sadly, the soundtrack The Best Is Yet To Come, or the essence of it at the start of the intro, doesn't play in the DGN. So Liquid's identity is revealed gradually through the codex and the cutscenes as we know in the game. In the DGN, Liquid's role and connection to Snake are established at the very beginning, with less gradual ambiguity. Although with that said, the mission briefing in the game, Snake does point out that Liquid could potentially be his twin. The DGN does this after the fact when Snake is infiltrating Shadow Moses and heading towards the elevator.
Your skin tone is different, but otherwise you two are exact duplicates.
I have a twin?
I don't know the details, but it seems so. That's why we really need you for this mission.
That's him. Liquid Snake. Other than a difference in skin tone, he could be my twin. Background murky, but one thing's for sure. He's the enemy. The Solid versus the Liquid.
However, the grand revelation that Snake learns that Liquid is his brother still happens between the DGN in the game at the very end.
Yes, twins. But we're not ordinary twins. We're twins linked by cursed genes. Les enfants terribles.
In any case, if it doesn't kill you, then I'm not worried. After all, our genetic code is identical.
So it's true. You and I are...
Yes, twins. But not ordinary twins. We're linked by cursed genes. Les enfants terribles. The terrible children.
For the most part, nothing was a retake, but the original lines were entirely redone, like Twin Snakes to sound more crisp than atmospheric and echoey like the original.
I wasn't able to read the future.
A strong man doesn't need to read the future. He makes his own.
I wasn't able to read the future.
A strong man doesn't need to read the future. He makes his own.
Also, some of the pronunciations and vocal delivery from the VAs make characters sound different at times, unlike the game's original tone.
Special Operations Foxhound. Revolver Ocelot. I've been waiting for you, Solid Snake.
Special Operations Foxhound. Revolver Ocelot. I've been waiting for you, Solid Snake.
Some of these vocal changes apply to voice actors like Kim May Guest, who voices Mei Ling, being a very clear example, as she sounds more American than Chinese, like she does later in MGS4.
In that kind of weather.
Who's that?
Sorry, that's Mei Ling. She designed your codec as well as your Soliton radar system.
Use the Soliton to avoid the guards, but be careful. The genome soldiers have highly developed senses of hearing and vision. All right, everybody, here's the plan. We know Haven will have to surface in order to fire the railgun.
The same applies to Jennifer Hale, who also voices Naomi, taking a more American Western approach rather than being English.
I was found in Zimbabwe in the early 80s, a dirty little orphan. I honestly don't remember what happened to my parents. I think I may have blocked it out of my memory.
I was found in Rhodesia sometime in the 80s, a dirty little orphan.
Rhodesia? What's now known as Zimbabwe?
Yes.
Profoundly, it's in the DGN that would further hint in MGS4 why it became so westernized. Ryan Payton, who is an American video game producer and writer, was best known for his work in Konami and Kojima Productions, helping in terms of localization and, of course, appealing to a Western audience. But then again, come to think of it, Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes came out in 2004 and they was using the American accents then, so maybe it started there.
I'm also in charge of your mission data. Contact me if you want me to save your current status. My frequency is 140.96. It's a dedicated frequency for saving data. Don't forget it.
I'm also in charge of your mission data. Contact me if you want me to record your current status. My frequency is 140.96. It's a dedicated frequency for saving data. Don't forget it.
First DGN came out in 2006, and at that time Ryan was at Konami and Kojima Productions from 2005 until 2008. So yeah, whilst absolutely unnecessary, that's why the vocals sound a lot more westernized and different to the original. Some have argued as well it's the same with David Hayter's voice that sounds more gruffly compared to his original voice acting that was perfected in MGS1 depicting a younger Snake.
Yeah.
Hold up! Hold up! Hold up. What's wrong? You were expecting something different?
One thing you'll notice about the DGN is it's inconsistent with actually sticking to MGS1's codec beep. Instead, it uses a variation from the likes of Metal Gear Solid 3, which uses radio rather than nanomachine, so yeah, it really doesn't kind of accurately fit. A lot of MGS1 sound effects are included too, don't get me wrong, but it even borrows from MGS2 with its sound effects, and to me that doesn't really accurately depict the technology that was used at that time. It's not even a big deal, but it's what gave those games their own personal identity.
Colonel, that ninja is Grey Fox.
So, Snake usually retrieves his weapons with OSP, on-site procurement. In the Snowmobile in the DGN, instead of retrieving just the SOCOM like he does in the game, in the DGN he retrieves both the SOCOM and the M9 Tranquilizer and chaffs. The SOCOM is just a standalone item that's in the back of the Snowmobile in the game. However, in Twin Snakes you can actually find the M9 at the very start of when you ascend the elevator, but it varies in different locations depending on the difficulty. The great thing about the DGN is it actually offers another perspective, ones that we don't see behind the scenes from the antagonist. For example, the guards mention a woman in a cell, referring to Meryl, something later uncovered in the game of course, but this includes Grey Fox using stealth camouflage according to the genome soldiers just chatting amongst each other. It's pretty cool.
An intruder? Where? He's already done 3 people, and they say he's using stealth too.
I want you to increase the security detail on the chief.
What? Stealth? There's an intruder besides me?
So the DGN, rather than the original game, has actor James C. Mathis provide the voice of Sigint in MGS3, who also provides the voice for Donald Anderson, instead of the original voice actor Greg Eagles, who also voiced Grey Fox and Decoy Octopus in the original and Twin Snakes.
You're the DARPA chief, Donald Anderson, right?
You here to save me, huh? What's your outfit?
I'm the pawn they sent here to save your worthless butt.
Really?
You're the DARPA chief, Donald Anderson, right?
You're here to save me, huh? What's your outfit?
I'm the pawn they sent in here to save your worthless butt.
Personally, I believe this was a good creative decision by using James C. Mathis, who plays Sigint, because he's already established by the time the DGN came out, so I guess it makes sense to make him his own separate character, rather than depending on Greg Eagles, who is the iconic voice of Grey Fox. Definitely a good creative decision from Kojima.
Who are you?
I'm here to save you. You're the DARPA chief, Donald Anderson, right?
You're here to save me, huh? Then hurry up and get me out of here.
Ah, you're wearing the chocolate chip pattern.
Chocolate chip? You mean this camouflage?
Yeah.
It's also worth noting in this scene as well, closely resembles the action from Twin Snakes. When an enemy guard is coming towards Donald Anderson's cell, Snake jumps up on the wall to avoid detection.
Hey, shut up in there, will ya?
In the DGN, Kenneth Baker, the president of ArmsTech, is voiced by Peter Renaday, who played Ames in MGS2, rather than Alan Lurie, who plays in both the 1998 MGS1 and Twin Snakes.
Oh, no, it can't be! Those Pentagon bastards! So, they actually went and did it?
Those Pentagon bastards went and did it!
What are you talking about?
They're just using you for...
The voice actor behind Grey Fox in the DGN is Lark Spies, who plays a younger version of Frank Yeager in Portable Ops, known as Null, rather than Greg Eagles. Of course, many in the fandom wasn't too happy with this change. Altogether, there's been 3 voice actors who have voiced Grey Fox, including Rob Paulsen.
His name is Robert Paulsen. His name is Robert Paulsen. This is over with. His name is Robert Paulsen. His name is Robert Paulsen.
Now we can fight as warriors. Hand to hand. It is the basis of all combat. Only a fool trusts his life to a weapon.
Now we can fight as warriors. Hand to hand. It is the basis of all combat. Only a fool trusts his life to a weapon.
Yes, now we fight as warriors. Hand to hand, the basis of all combat. Only a fool trusts his life to a weapon.
Upon Grey Fox's appearance, and when Solid Snake meets him, they have a much more longer confrontation than the game. Also, the DGN shows a more of a brutal depiction of what Grey Fox actually did to the Genome soldiers.
Did you see that?
What? What is it?
Nothing. I just thought I saw...
Oh my god! Shoot anything that moves!
Psycho Mantis has an encounter with Grey Fox in the DGN, unlike the game. In the scenes, Mantis uses his mind reading to expose Frank Yeager's past.
You don't deserve a name. You're just a broken egg in a new shell. A dead man with a dead past. Nameless here forever. Your life, your very humanity. Quoth the Raven, nevermore. No! No!
Psycho Mantis takes control of Meryl sooner in the DGN, within the bathroom rather than near the office.
Meryl, what's wrong?
It's just a headache. I'm fine.
It's just a headache. I'm fine.
The DGN also shows Otacon's relationship with Sniper Wolf closer than the game, with in-between scenes, should we say, to show their connection.
Enough! I like you. I like you very much. But I do not have to explain myself to you.
Okay.
Here. This handkerchief belonged to my mother. She died when I was very young. Hold on to it for me, in case anything should happen.
So at some point in the DGN, it's implied that both Miller and Grey Fox protect Snake against Vulcan Raven, something we don't see in the game. Miller's identity is used by Liquid to fool Snake over the course of the game, as we understand, usually in the codec and the game, and the same applies to DGN. We learn Miller is killed prior to the Shadow Moses incident, but in the DGN is well and truly alive apparently, up until it's revealed that Psycho Mantis manifests himself as Miller to get Snake to input the detonation code. This DGN makes Mantis far more powerful by implying he can indeed replicate other physical appearances. As in the very same scene, he also manifests himself as Ocelot, and the dead giveaway being that he has 2 hands.
Ocelot. 2 hands. I'm not here. This isn't happening.
Snake, stop!
Damn you to hell! How did you see through it? How did you see through my psychic assimilation? It was flawless!
Too many discrepancies. Too implausible. No, your little illusion was far from perfect.
It does not matter. I've only begun to reveal the full spectrum of my abilities. You are all mere puppets in my play.
The battle later ensues and Snake defeats Mantis, but Liquid's ruse as Miller still continues.
So, you killed Master Miller and stole his identity. I should blow your head off right now.
Snake, for shame! I can't believe you'd point a weapon at your own brother!
So, as in the game when Meryl gets shot by Sniper Wolf, instead of Snake using the PSG-1 in the DGN, he runs directly at Sniper Wolf, throwing a stun grenade whilst Meryl tries to lay cover fire.
Crazy or not, I have you now.
Flash grenade! I can't see!
I'm not gonna make it. She'll nail me before I can reach the tower.
No more tricks, prey. This hunt is over. Ah!
So Sniper Wolf's favourite weapon is a Heckler & Koch PSG-1. It is still used in the DGN, but it looks like she is carrying something very similar to the Walther WA-2000, albeit a shorter version as a secondary weapon, which she aims at Snake once captured instead of her main gun.
I won't miss at this range. You are a fool to come here.
So as I said, the DGN often shows what happens behind the scenes, and in this case, it shows what happened to Meryl after the attack. She is placed into a hospital bed and forced by Sniper Wolf to watch Snake's torture once he gets captured. And when Snake does get tortured in the DGN, Grey Fox rescues him from the torture rack, unlike the game where Snake gets placed in a holding cell for Otacon to help him escape, or rather Grey Fox if the player hasn't figured out how to escape.
On your feet, soldier. Who? Grey Fox.
The DGN doesn't always have extended battles, and when Snake destroys the Hind whilst he rappels down the tower, which is really unlike the game, which plays out much differently, not beforehand when Snake is trying to avoid the Hind.
No! It's not possible!
The main battle with Sniper Wolf sees Otacon intervening, trying to prevent the fight. The emotional sequence plays out a little differently. Snake doesn't give his philosophical speech that we're used to in the game, and in fact Otacon has more of a personal farewell rather than Snake. The DGN is much more briefer than the game and lacks the iconic emotional enclosure theme.
These last few years, my only focus was the kill. I lost sight of the only target that matters. The only light left in my life. Hal.
She's gone.
Before the battle with Raven in the DGN, there is extended dialogue between him and Snake talking about Fox-Die, and there's no Nikita missile to take him out like the game, which is the best method, but instead Snake takes him out with a claymore and uses his SOCOM. Raven recites the same dialogue as Liquid towards the end of the game as well. I don't know why they made this change or why they place such important details to Raven, but yeah. Snake being a government pawn and all, and the DGN of course just completely shuffles these lines.
Always following orders blindly with no questions asked. You've lost your warrior's pride, Snake. Stopping the nuclear launch, rescuing the hostages. It was all just a diversion.
Following orders blindly with no questions asked, you've lost your warrior's pride and become nothing more than a pawn, Snake. What? Stopping the nuclear launch, rescuing the hostages, it was all just a diversion.
When Naomi explains her past to Snake, in the DGN she explains it to the Colonel, and of course comic book depictions show her as a child being rescued by Frank Yeager. We get to see more of a visual depiction rather than just Kodak.
He was kind, but I could see in his eyes that he was haunted by something terrible. I never asked him, and he never told me. We survived that hell together, he and I. He protected me. My one connection. The only connection I have to my past.
The DGN takes from Twin Snakes. Unlike the game, instead of backtracking to change the temperature of the PAL cards, Snake just simply shoots the pipes nearby. And I mean very nearby, as Snake doesn't even have to leave the room in order to, change the temperature of the cards.
But you gotta find a way, and soon.
Never mind. Looks like Baker discreetly built the means into the control room's piping.
Snake, it's Master Miller.
If you're here to tell me about Naomi, Fox-Die, and impending death, I already know.
There's also some minor dialogue changes between Grey Fox and Snake in the final exchanges with the Battle of Rex. Some of the most iconic lines are stripped, like a cornered fox is more dangerous than a jackal.
Never corner a fox!
And we're not tools of the government or anyone else. Unlike the game, Snake fires the Stinger missile, resulting in the destruction of Metal Gear and Grey Fox. This is quite a big change from Snake, who in the game, if the player tried to fire at the Rex, they couldn't do it because Snake didn't want to hurt Grey Fox.
In front of you, I can finally die. No, I can't do it.
And, funnily enough, I almost forgot to mention this until I re-watched the clip. Instead of Grey Fox destroying the radome with his laser blast cannon, he uses his sword to destroy it instead.
Cornered fox is more dangerous than a jackal.
He destroyed the radome.
Bloody hell! He destroyed the radome!
At the very end of the DGN, when Snake and Liquid fight atop Rex, Liquid gets impaled after a swift punch, unlike the game where he simply just falls off. The escape sequence in the DGN also isn't as cinematic as the game, because there's no epic chase. But interestingly, the DGN sees Snake, Meryl and Otacon all escape together, until confronted by Liquid, who succumbs to Fox-Die. It's interesting how they would make this change, considering this came out in 2006. So it's most likely the most canon ending, considering we know that Meryl doesn't die because she appears in MGS4, as MGS1 originally would see Meryl succumb to death if Snake didn't save her. Once again, it's simply just a case of the wonderful retcons that Metal Gear Solid is often renowned for. That's the end of basically as much as I could find in the first digital graphic novel. I'm sure if there's anything I've missed, you guys can leave it in the comments section down below. But in the ending, it's not as philosophical as the game. Naomi doesn't go on a tangent about genetics and life and being able to just live and not being ruled by your genetics. With that said, it's a pretty decent farewell that I really believe fixes the retcon problem.
So, where to, Snake?
David. My name is David.
David? That's your real name? Well, I like Solid Snake much better.
And I hope you like walking to Fox Island, kid.
Okay, so where to, Dave?
A new path. A new purpose.
The start of Metal Gear Solid 2 digital graphic novel introduction is very different. Instead of Snake walking the bridge and rappelling onto the tanker, he's already on board and defeated Olga in a duel.
Affirmative. You sure no one saw your tussle with that Russian woman?
Olga? I don't think so. She was a tough customer though, I'll give her that.
The soundtrack in the DGN2 is a lot more closer to the video game than the first DGN.
An anti-Metal Gear.
All we need is evidence of its existence. Which means...
I know. Just take photos. No killing or blowing stuff up. You're no fun.
The DGN repurposes scenes from the game. Instead of Cypher taking pictures of Snake to frame him, Ocelot takes pictures of Snake, who is in the hold taking snaps of Metal Gear Ray. The tanker segment is very brief, but I do think it aligns with the ghostly appearance of Ocelot in MGS2, that in the background he's already keeping an eye on us.
Don't send me creepy stuff like this. What if I get possessed or something?
Our boy is right on schedule. Smile for your adoring public, hero. After I'm done with you, they'll all think you're public enemy #1.
So unlike the game that starts with Raiden infiltrating the Big Shell, the DGN shows events that happened prior. Raiden undergoes a VR training imitating Solid Snake in a mission in Shadow Moses, something established later in the game. Raiden also receives a mystery call from Solidus, who seems more than aware of Jack's involvement with the Patriots at the very start, unlike the game, where Raiden stumbles across Solidus and vice versa, until later both figure out their connection.
Where do I know him from?
So you're the boss around here.
Hello, Jack. It's been a long time.
Huh? Who is this?
Oh, just a blast from your oh-so-colorful past. I've been looking for you for a long time, Jackie boy. They may have taken you away from me, but I knew I'd track you down. Eventually.
This time, Carrie Walgren voices Rosemary, who is the English dub of the DGN, rather than Lara Cody, who voiced Rosemary in the game.
Can I ask you something? Who am I, really?
I wouldn't know. But we're going to find out together.
Rose, can I ask you something? Who am I, really?
Honestly, Jack, I don't know. But we're going to find out. Together.
So Raiden is made aware at the very start that Rosemary will be his data analyst in the DGN, rather than whilst in a mission over the codec like the game.
Jack, is everything all right?
What are you doing here?
Jack, can you hear me?
Rose, you're not supposed to be involved. What's going on?
Jack, I'm a part of this mission.
Colonel, what the hell is going on?
Raiden,
Meet the mission analyst.
I've also been assigned to the Big Shell Op. I'm your mission analyst.
A Police Notes reference exists in MGS2, breaking the fourth wall to Kojima's sci-fi detective buddy cop game with posters in the computer room, but in the DGN merges the universes of MGS and Police Notes. There's a character called Karen Hojo, who is a news reporter within Police Notes, also in the DGN, who covers the events of Big Shell.
以上、カレン北条がお伝えしました。
This is Karen Hojo, reporting live for Action 10 News.
In the DGN, it's implied that Solid Snake was responsible for eliminating former President George Sears, aka Solidus, unlike the game that sees him just go underground and avoid detection.
And the Paris hotel bombing that killed former President George Sears.
Raiden approaches the Big Shell, like Snake in Shadow Moses, by water. However, in the DGN, he is fully aware of his codename Raiden before he enters the Big Shell and changes his codename.
And by the way, Snake, we're changing your codename for all following communication.
What's wrong with Snake?
Just a precaution. You are now designated Raiden.
In the confrontation between Vamp and the SEALs, including Snake and Raiden, everything plays out mostly the same in the scene like the game. However, Raiden doesn't use Snake's M4 when he tosses him a clip. Instead, Raiden uses a SOCOM he's already acquired before Snake even gave him it. However, Vamp leaves before Raiden has the chance to even fire.
Shoot him! What are you waiting for? Shoot him, now!
He's gone.
The DGN, unlike the game, has extended scenes of what the antagonists get up to behind the scenes, a bit similar to how it is with the first digital graphic novel. All of course with extended and additional dialogue that may alter from the original. Fortune mistaking Raiden as Snake comes with more clarity in the DGN. When Snake explains Dead Cell to Raiden, the DGN further illustrates in detail the unit's presence. That includes cut characters from the game like Chinaman and Oldboy.
They were out of control, and it all came to a head 6 months ago.
What happened?
Snake is also aware of Peter Stillman and tells Raiden to locate him. Just like the game, Fortune tears down the connecting bridge and the SEALs, but the DGN sees a Navy SEAL actually telling Stillman to take cover in Strut C.
Just shut up and listen to me, sir. You have a job to do, and one way or another, you're going to do it. Even if that means all of our lives. Get me?
Yes.
Good. Now get ready. Stillman, go!
The scene plays out slightly different to the game to save time, since there's no need for tutorials. Snake is already trying to defuse a bomb in another shell when he bumps into Fat Man, and presumably perished in the blast.
On 3, shall we say? And a 1. And a 2.
Oh no.
And a...
You crazy son of a...
3!
So Raiden confronts Fortune in Strut C, rather than the bottom of Strut A, and gets in a close proximity fight with Fortune rather than dodging her attacks like in the game.
Any tactical advice here would be greatly appreciated. Because I'm getting my ass royally kicked right now. Shut up!
Another attention to detail that is focused on Fat Man is throughout the DGN, we get a behind-the-scenes look of him travelling throughout the Big Shell, being a nuisance to Solidus.
Stillman must be made to see that I have now surpassed him. That my prowess is far beyond his inferior skills. He'll be impressed. Oh, yes, I dare say. He'll be blown away. Blown away. That's good. I should write that one down.
Also, the DGN explains what Ocelot mentions at the end of the game, that the Patriots were just using Fat Man to test Raiden's abilities. It's already pre-established in one of the cutscenes that Fat Man was well aware of his role. This happens when Fat Man runs into Olga posed as Grey Fox, a Patriot messenger to strike a deal suitable all round.
We want you to test him.
Test him, eh? To what limit?
The full extent. No hesitation.
So unlike the game where Raiden has to defuse Fat Man's main bomb at the bottom of Strut A, he instead from Strut C heads directly to the heliport pad to defuse the secondary bomb instead. But get this, when he arrives there isn't actually no bomb to defuse. And unlike the game where the idea that Peter Stillman was disabled and couldn't move around isn't mentioned at all in the DGN, and Peter Stillman can move around just fine, in fact he can even run. But yet, the game ironically confirms this anyway.
That won't happen. I can walk just fine. I can even run.
After Snake was knocked unconscious from the blast, something alluded in the game through the codec rather than shown, the DGN sees Snake's perspective as he runs into Olga and her Gorlukovich unit again as they assemble, and then this takes it into a flashback that goes back into the tanker. Ironically, in this flashback sees Snake confuse Olga with Meryl. This feels like a nod to Snake's Tales, where Meryl is included as a character or a roguish tomboy. Once again, more dialogue changes in scenes that play out just like the game, but just slightly altered.
This is where I belong, with my unit. I have nowhere else to go.
Holy Meryl? No, of course it's not her. Man, what am I on?
Raiden's introduction with Fat Man is much more dramatic in the DGN.
Literally.
Yell Dead Cell theme plays as Fat Man throws crazy ball bombs Raiden has to dodge, something we don't see in the game. He even also uses a whip as well.
So, what do you think of Fat Man's little toys? Crazy ball bombs! You'll laugh yourself silly! Things that I'm erratic, unstable, insane! Ah, isn't that rich? Me? Insane?
What the DGN does better than the game is dive into Fat Man's history a lot more personally. Most MGS games antagonists usually have a backstory either in cutscenes or codecs, but here in all its comic book glory shows Fat Man's past as a child.
That cocky little punk was so damn sure he was better than me. Turns out he was wrong. Anyway, once word of little boy's unfortunate circumstances got out, Fat Man quickly became a name to respect.
The DGN amusingly calls back to the game within the character's dialogue. Peter Stillman in the game indeed wasn't meant to be at the heliport after being blown up in a blast prior.
Stillman! You're not supposed to be here!
But I am here, son. And I've got one final lesson to teach you. Mentor to protege.
However, the DGN sees Stillman and Fat Man have an intellectual battle of explosives. Peter makes a bomb for Fat Man to disarm, who struggles intensely to figure out his mentor's technique, sparing Raiden some time, and it honestly is hilariously brilliant. The late Barry Dennen, who voices Fat Man, brilliantly extends more of the Mad Bomber we only got to briefly see in the game.
Just look at this stupid design. So pedestrian, so shoddy.
Almost out of time.
Shut up, you hack! Absurd wiring scheme, bogging me down.
You know, if it's too difficult, I'll be happy to show you how it's done.
Ah, you son of a bitch! I'll see your blown-out carcass splayed all over this heliport after I'm finished.
So after you eliminate Fat Man, he plants a secret bomb underneath him that could take down the entire big shell. In the DGN, Fat Man, who is temporarily passed out, has the same bomb on person, yet it is far more complex than freezing. Peter Stillman, who mirrors Police Notes Ed Brown, has to disarm the bomb himself by snipping wires, only until Raiden shoots Fat Man in the head to end the whole situation.
Enough! Finish it!
Pretty cold, Raiden. I didn't think you had it in you.
Neither did I, actually.
Okay, here we go. Did it. Whew.
The Patriots aren't too happy about how we ruined the entire simulation. We pretty much created a time paradox.
Fat Man is finished, thanks to Stillman here.
What? But that's not... He's not... Damn it, Raiden. Stillman is supposed to be disarming the C4 inside Big Shell.
You've created a time paradox. You can't go changing the future like that.
Of course, it didn't turn out unlike the game. Yet the DGN is like an alternative universe, and Stillman, he still happens to defuse a bomb that the Patriots send him to go defuse, but this time it explodes later on rather than sooner.
I always knew that I would win in the end.
My God.
Long live the Patriots!
Oh no! Stillman, are you there? Come on, Pete, talk to me!
Raiden eventually meets Ninja Olga, but this time not above the heliport. Once again, the dialogue is reworked, and in areas to suit the story changes, yet again, the DGN in this sequence closely aligns with the narrative of the game, regarding the President's location and the Sons of Liberty and nuclear weapons. The next scene shows what the game only hints through codec, played out in an interesting scene that many fans agree does better than the game. Ocelot decides which hostage to kill to shake up the media. Yet most interestingly in all of this is a scene where Ocelot, like his father, the Sorrow, has medium capabilities to speak to the dead.
Death brings sorrow. The living may not hear them. Their voices may fall upon deaf ears.
Liquid appears from the spirit world, an idea created in MGS3 that indeed the afterlife exists, who appears to torment Ocelot.
I'm sure our father would agree.
Father?
The sorrow.
Son. No. No son of mine would have allowed this madman to take control of his will.
Rather than taking Ocelot's psyche through drugs and hypnotherapy, or rather the stupid device that tells us that Liquid's arm is the connective binding of this possession.
But I live on through this arm!
Liquid's arm. These functions are still like the game, however the DGN gives a better explanation tied to both the physical and spiritual world of MGS. The Sorrow himself appears in the DGN, but bear in mind the MGS2 DGN came out after MGS3 in 2008. Such characters had already been established, and at that point, when MGS2 came out in 2001, it's unlikely Kojima had written the Sorrow's arc yet. Kojima himself directed the DGNs. To me, it seems the certain changes made are what Kojima probably wished he could have implemented into the game. Since MGS4 came out in 2008, many fans were disappointed in the Ocelot Liquid connection. The DGN better explained the epic scenes that show the Sorrow's disappointment in his son for allowing Liquid to easily control his mind. The back and forth between the three make for great storytelling. Snake also runs into Olga, but sees through the facade since he saw the real Frank Jaeger die. It's in the DGN that makes us understand the scene in the game where Olga and Snake use Raiden as bait to gain access to Arsenal.
You are and always have been the X-Factor, the one variable they have never been able to control. Raiden, however, is another matter entirely.
Raiden eventually meets with Solidus, but skips the entire bridge disposal part of the bombs. The conversation is a lot more direct and revealing in the DGN, unlike the game, where up until the end do the revelations happen. In the conversation, Raiden refers to Solidus as Solid Snake, rather than Solidus referring to himself as Solid Snake.
Boss to surpass Big Boss himself. Solid Snake.
No, that is not Solid Snake.
The iconic "No, that's not Solid Snake" is still said, but some of the lines are changed up. Raiden being a puppet of the Patriots is exposed by Solidus sooner rather than later.
Who are you, really?
Stop playing dumb. You know who I am.
Solid Snake?
Ha!
No! That is not Solid Snake.
Instead of escaping the destroyed connecting bridge using forms of parkour after defeating Solidus, Raiden instead grabs onto a rope hanging off the Kasaka, all whilst avoiding incoming attacks. In the DGN, when Raiden discovered Solid Snake's identity, is a lot more personal than just a codec call. Snake explains most of what happened between Shadow Moses and Matanka all in person. However, it isn't implied like the game that Raiden experienced Tatanka through a form of VR training. Instead, he's completely unaware of the events that happened apart from what the news has told him. And in the DGN there's a flashback when Ocelot hijacks Metal Gear Ray and shoots Scott Dolph and Sergei. Instead of Sergei drowning in his own death, he succumbs to it by bullets.
Die, you traitorous dog!
Olga.
My, Sergei. Looks like you were long overdue for retirement.
Interestingly, in this flashback of the tanker when Liquid possesses Ocelot, the iconic voice who plays Cam Clark doesn't take over. Ocelot still retains his own voice, just like how we saw in MGS4. Yet it's a little unusual how Solid Snake buys the ruse, unlike the game where the voice change made it more plausible of this possession. Hilariously, in the DGN, Solid Snake, like some of the fandom, believe, and me included, find Liquid's arm being the reason for this transformation just absolutely ridiculous.
Do you think I'm stupid? How can someone's personality live on through an arm?
Our raw materials are unique, Snake. You never did fully grasp Big Boss's genetic. Ouch! Get out of my mind, Liquid!
President Johnson in the DGN is played by H. Richard Green, the very same voice actor who plays Hot Coldman in MGS Peace Walker. In one scene, Solidus and himself discuss matters around presidency and the Patriots, something that later aligns with what Johnson tells Raiden later on. And with that, Johnson inputs the code necessary for a nuclear launch.
Yes, of course. It's done. The code is entered.
Very good. Our liberation has begun.
Instead of using a Nikita missile to destroy the circuit panel to rescue the president, Raiden instead crawls through the vents.
Who?
President Johnson.
So, you're finally here. Go ahead and be done with it. I'm prepared to face the consequences of my betrayal.
And usually Ocelot shoots the president and runs off after Raiden has done talking to him. In the DGN, Raiden and Ocelot fight each other, but Ocelot gets the better of Raiden up until Olga turns up and repeats history, cutting off Ocelot's arm and letting Raiden get away.
I've trained too hard for... I told you not to test me, boy. Looks like you don't have what it takes after all. What the?
Leave this to me.
You! But you died!
I'll keep him busy. Get away. Hurry!
Solid Snake takes more of a leading role in the DGN opposed to the game, something the fans at the time would have liked. Snake, now dressed up in his gear, embarks on an underwater mission to rescue Emma in the locker room instead of Raiden. Solid Snake faces Vamp rather than Raiden in the DGN as well, and this battle's methods resembles Big Boss wielding both the pistol and knife. Solid Snake gets the better of Vamp by slicing his neck and kicking him into the pool.
Getting all hot and bothered, huh? Why don't you just cool off?
Twilight sniping isn't scrapped entirely. Emma still takes the oil fence to the computer room, but with Snake alongside her. Whilst Raiden secures the room, Vamp still appears and stabs Emma unexpectedly, when Raiden randomly shows up and takes out Vamp, acting as support to Snake rather than the other way around. Ocelot is secretly watching the entire affair.
Arsenal will be ours, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it.
Enough of your crap! Just die already!
The tragic scene with Emma doesn't hit as hard emotionally like the game. The dialogue feels rushed, and plus there's no signature handshake or bro hug before Otacon is sent to rescue the hostages.
Don't worry, I've made special arrangements. Good luck, Hal. I'll be in touch.
Raiden goes through an intense flashback of his past at some point, and the DGN showcases this in further horrific detail. It depicts a young Jack cutting 10 throats, representing 10 candles for him to blow out for his birthday. It shows how Solidus sadistically used Raiden as a killing machine and his knowledge of blades. It's visually striking, but the codec explanations in the game are just as detailed, even if they don't show what's happening. It's a mixture of Raiden's real past and his subconscious. Rose and Campbell appear in his dream, trying to take him away from Solidus.
He seems proud of me about anything anymore.
Raiden, stop! Don't give in to this!
Colonel Campbell? This was 20 years ago. How can he be here?
You mustn't allow this to continue, Raiden. Solidus is tampering with your mind.
When Raiden is captured and placed on the torture rack, his past in Liberia is mentioned very briefly. Ocelot as well, unlike the game, wants to torture Raiden, like Snake, who gets all nostalgic from the events of Shadow Moses, but Olga, who is already present, rather than entering the room, prevents the torture to talk to Raiden. In the DGN, she explains her daughter is being held by the Patriots before being atop of Arsenal's platform.
My role was to assist you. If Solidus gets away with Arsenal, your mission is a failure. Which would in turn mean my mission is a failure. So you see, my child's life depends on your success.
Once Raiden escapes and heads for his gear inside Arsenal, he still receives the strange codec calls from the Patriots. However, I don't believe they are delivered as creepy and as eerie as the game. Paul Eiding's delivery sounds too formal than profound.
You should stop all this nonsense, Raiden. I mean, really. This is just a simulation anyway. Your perception isn't reality. Never has been.
And in this scene, Raiden takes on a special elite soldiers you only see in the game's high-tech reinforcements, rather than the Tengus at this point. The DGN makes a good point of Raiden's reality breaking down because of his nanomachines affecting his perception.
Raiden, listen. Something happened last Thursday. When I was driving home, you see, I had a couple of miles to go, and I looked up, and I saw a glowing orange object in the sky, to the east. But it was moving very irregularly. And suddenly, there was intense light all around me. And when I came to, I was home. So what do you think happened to me?
Just shut the hell up!
So when Snake and Raiden meet in Arsenal's rectum, not the best place to meet, may I add, in the DGN, Raiden is pissed and tries to actually take a few swings at Snake, and of course gets his ass bested. Unlike the game where he is more chill, so yeah.
Knocked me unconscious! And left me to be tortured to death!
I'll give you uppity, you manipulative son of a...
Enough. Now, control yourself or I'll put you down for good.
Raiden also figures out himself at this point that the AI supercomputer had tricked him the entire time, since the AI blamed Emma for partially destroying GW. Instead of Otacon explaining how this affected Raiden, Solid Snake briefly tells Raiden himself.
GW was most likely stimulating cortical activity in the dormant part of your brain through signal manipulation of your own nanomachines. The kernel is, in part, your own creation, cobbled together from expectations and experience.
That's crazy!
I'm afraid so. Arsenal was most likely stimulating activity in the dormant part of your brain through signal manipulation of your own nanomachines. The kernel was just part of your own creation, cobbled together from expectation and experience.
Solid Snake, instead of handing Raiden a blade at first and facing off against several Tengu, gives Raiden a Stinger missile to take out several mass ray units. Raiden, mid-fight with a Tengu, has a breakdown and visually sees the soldier morph into Campbell, and Rose appears out of nowhere. Raiden eventually discovers the truth of her role within the Patriots, but through some sort of mind-altering way.
Tell me, was sleeping with me part of the job too?
It's not that simple. As time went on and we grew closer, things changed.
Snap out of it, soldier!
Damn it, kid! Snap out of it or we're both dead!
Solidus kills Olga by snapping her neck in the DGN, but in the game, as we know, he shoots her with the P90.
Poor Olga.
When Ocelot escapes with Metal Gear Ray, he explains as Liquid's persona that informs Snake that it was him that contacted Otacon to get Snake's attention. Solid Snake jumps on Ray before it departs into the sea and places a tracker, unlike the game where he fully commits and jumps into the sea. The DGN sees Snake hanging off the edge of Arsenal, with Raiden trying to help him up.
You can do it! Just hold on!
If I can't kill the Patriots, at least I can have the satisfaction of ending both of your misbegotten lives!
It's too late.
Ha!
Arsenal crashes into Manhattan like the game, however in the DGN, Snake fights and defeats Solidus. Raiden partially fights but cannot finish the job.
A mistake!
Fine with me. I'd rather be a mistake than be the one who makes them. Who's reckless now, Mr. President?
No! The Patriots!
At the very end, Kojima corrects Sonny's gender in the DGN to a girl rather than a boy, as Solid Snake in the game tells us.
Snake, what about Olga's child?
Don't worry, I'll find him. Count on it.
Oh no, I forgot. Olga's child, what do we...
Don't worry, I'll find her. Count on it.
Instead of appearing out of nowhere like a ghost, stood in the middle of the road, Rose actually runs towards Raiden whilst talking to Snake to embrace him. And it's there we do still get the same emotional, welcoming lines, however we don't get the philosophical angles of Kojima's themes we often get within the games. A bit like the first DGN, we don't get to see how Naomi explains the side of genetics, just as we don't get to see the great speech with Snake about memes and so forth.
Need to talk to
Rose!
Jack!
Snake?
He's gone. What's wrong?
Nothing. I just... Rose, can I ask you something?
So that's all I wanted to share with you, but I'm sure there's many more differences I didn't cover. And if so, get in the comments and please let me know. And before you leave, consider joining my membership, because there's chances to win prizes, including games, every now and then. Subscribe if you haven't, and if I don't see you again, I'll see you in the next video. Until we meet again. Take care out there.
What's going on?
I don't know, Snake. I just don't know.
Where are these guys now?
Well, we were right about the Wiseman's Committee being stationed in Manhattan. But
what?
Snake, they're already dead. All 12 of them.
Dead? When did that happen?
Well, you see, that's the kicker. Apparently, they all died about 100 years ago.
What the hell?